Hello everyone, what's up? My name is Sharpclaw, and today I want to talk about something that I feel like people jump the gun or head straight into conclusion that the game Dead by Daylight is very one-sided. Sometimes to the survivor and sometimes to the killer. And I believe is a lot more complicated than that. People need to understand that the game can be one-sided within, various scenarios. For the most part, you know, it can be very unstable in terms of its balance, and just because of that, it actually can have somewhat of a balance. Let me explain a couple of things. Let's start off with maps. There is many maps that favor the survivor, such as Haddonfield, Badham, Ormond, Mother's Dwelling, but there's also a couple that favor the killer. Saloon, Midwich, Shelter Woods, and although Shelter Woods is a variation of 5 maps, of the Macmillan, and Hawkins can be another, but it's leaving Dead by Daylight, so not many for the killer, but still a few. And I believe that in the future, maps shouldn't favor any side whatsoever, but it's unfortunate that they do, and especially now with offerings, being a thing that makes it so it's 100% to get that guaranteed map. There's a lot of control that both sides can have, and that shouldn't really be a thing. Thus, hoping map offerings do change, and the maps themselves do change. But there's also another worry that can also be very harmful in the game for each side, and that's the RNG that the maps can have. Now, Dead by Daylight is a very unique game that every time you load into the map, it changes a little bit. And just a couple of days ago, I was playing Suffocation Pit, and I noticed that in the middle of it, there were 5 LNT walls, meaning that there was not a single jungle gem. This meaning I counted up to 9 or 10 pallets, I'm not so sure. And pretty much everything else was just a dead zone. And LNT walls, while they're not the best, however, some killers such as Demo, Huntress, Nemi, and all the higher up killers, those killers can really play those tiles very easily. And I don't think this should be possible. The RNG should change. Maybe they have a cap onto what tiles can spawn, and so on and so forth. On a little side note, a lot of people give a lot of shit to Hawkins, but the map itself is actually learnable. And this is a huge thing because since there's not a lot of RNG to work with in that map, I do wish more maps were kind of like it, and it's sad to see it go. But that being said, since you can actually understand the map, it does provide some help whether you're playing survivor or even or killer. So moving on to the next step, items and add-ons. Let's start with medkits, as I believe it's the only item now that's a bit too powerful. Since keys were nerfed, the fact that you can get hit and run to the corner of the map if the killer decides to leave you, you can heal within 15 seconds, that being the killer not running sloppy. This is insane. I hear a lot of people also giving a new crap to the perk Circle of Healing and saying it's busted, it's OP, but I'm just gonna put some people's mind to ease. It's not the perk itself, it's self-healing that's the issue. Medkits offer a way for only one survivor, aka the beholder of the item, themselves to heal in such a little time, and if someone comes and helps you heal, it's in a way taking the time of 2 survivors rather than 1, and I feel like in that scenario 16 seconds is not bad. However, Circle of Healing just makes it so that you heal even faster with the medkit, as it will count, and that's the imbalance part. It's not the perk itself, it's just the medkit. And with other medkits being out there, especially the green medkit, that one that speeds up your healing, that one is probably the most strongest medkit in the game. This obviously should not be a thing. It's okay if another survivor heals you superly fast, because at the end of the day, it's taking time off two survivors rather than one, you know? If one survivor can heal super fast, that means three survivors can be on gens. But if, two survivors are healing each other, and even if it's super fast, it's still taking the time for those two survivors to go there, meet up, and heal. So, and that meaning that they're not on gens. So, I don't mind it. I think that in that term, it's totally fair. And in all honesty, I haven't really been destroyed by this perk or anything, so I don't think the perk itself is an issue. I think medkits need to be changed, and there's a simple change to this: make self-healing just a little bit longer. 24 seconds would be a perfect change, and this could also mean that they would change some other stuff, such as the syringe. It would also be bumped up to 24 seconds, and other things like the perk self-care would be bumped up a little bit, maybe 70%, so that since healing would even take even longer, it could just maintain at its normal pace. There's also a lot of people complaining about septic agents, and I don't feel like lowering the timer to 5 or 6 seconds would do it any justice. And listen, I know that there's been times where Survivor made it to a pallet and you felt like you were robbed, and that happens. But I feel like the 5 or 6 seconds that they still would have had it. Normally I don't see survivors getting a lot of distance with 8 seconds. At least if it happens to you constantly, I don't know. But for me personally, it never really did change. 8 seconds is very insignificant, and usually survivors don't make a lot of distance for me. I do feel, however, a change to it is necessary where the septic agent and the syringe both require charges. I do kind of feel it's a little bit cheap that a survivor can, use almost a full charge of a medkit and then have a little bit, like 2 charges left, just for them to pop a septic agent. I do feel like you do need charges required to use a septic agent, probably 16 charges, and thus being that 16 charges would be, a use of a medkit, and I feel like that would be a good change for it. Now heading on to another item known as toolboxes, and it's funny how they're already nerfed and yet people see a problem in them. I don't think nerfing them again or changing them is a good idea. See, toolboxes for me always have been my favorite item, and especially after their nerf, as I felt it was fair. They make the most boring part in the game, aka repairing gens, a little bit less painful. And I feel like changing them would be a waste. You might as well just delete them. If that was the case, you might as well just, delete the item itself, because I don't think that would be a healthy thing. No, I feel like the problem actually lies in brand new parts, as this add-on did so much in the past that it was ridiculous, and it's still a little bit too powerful. The way that they can fix this is just by changing that add-on and that add-on solely. Make it work with something like a shield, where the killer can kick it and it will regress the shield first, then the progress. And that being said, it doesn't apply any more progress, just the shield, and that being on sword. That being that. Now on for the killer add-ons. There are a few things that aren't a little bit fair, starting with the Engineer's Fang on Pinhead. I can't really say that that's an absolutely healthy item. It really gets the killer downs easy and can snowball with, and I don't feel like that's all fair. There should be a change or another requirement for you to use it. All Seeing Blood on Wraith was slightly nerfed, however that doesn't change the fact that they can still use that add-on in Chase to mind game the survivor for free. They will know where the survivor will move, and the survivor has to guess. And as we know with the old spirit, guessing is a horrible thing in this multiplayer game. Pinky Finger is also something a bit overpowered, and maybe there should be some sort I do feel the Alchemist Ring and many other add-ons might be a bit overpowered that I forgot to mention, but they are definitely there. And this is just a few examples. They're not many, but it shows that they do have it on both sides. Now finally we get into the game, DBD, perks, and all that, the killers. And for the most part, I think every killer is fine. I think, for the most part, every perk itself is also fine. I don't want to get into too much detail. I do feel like maybe it should be changed, but like I said, I don't really care too much. I think all the perks now, they don't require any nerfing anymore, only changes, thus being, follow the simple rule where if you decide to nerf something, there should be a net positive, there should be like a change. Only nerf something if it was actually really busted, but if not, don't nerf it, and forget that you also need to add some sort of buff to it at the same time. Changes is what really helps the game out, and not nerfs. So, and to conclude, I just feel like when someone says the game is very survivor side or very killer side, it just makes me feel like they have a tumor in their brain or something is wrong in their line of process. I don't know. The game does have problems, it does have issues, and it does have unbalance. But being arrogant and saying that the game is, very one-sided, it really makes you sound very dumb, and just talk shit without thinking doesn't do no one good. I'm here today telling people what I feel is right because I was playing Survivor with a couple of friends. In all honesty, I play more killer, so when I say this, it means something. So my friends and I got tunneled by a blight. They were saying very rude things, and clearly they had some personal issue. But as we all lost, and the blight did say their shit and all that, in the end they legit said we lost in a survivor-sided game. And despite all the rude things that they were saying, all the cussing they did to us, in their own way, that was the part that just stuck out. Because while this blight was actually running the most strongest perks, Tinker, Popped, Corrupt, Ruin, he was also running Blighted Crow and Alchemist Rings, me and my friends were just running all meme builds. I was running Saboing, and my friends were opening chest builds and other stuff. And I realized that some people still believe that the game is very one-sided, when it's a lot more hectic and complex for them to just straight up say, yes, that's what I believe in. People don't think what they say, and you should reinforce the game with positive attitude to fix the game. If you're still here playing it, then actually try to fix it for the better. That's my take on all this, and I won't change you to believe on anything. Choose what you want to think is right or wrong. Please just don't try to force others into believing what you think is right, and just make yourself to be a dumb jerk at the end of it. Just don't. That's my take on all this, and yeah. Sometimes it's easier to say that the game is more survivor-sided, as I did actually point out more stuff that lead to the survivor being overpowered, but there are still a few aspects that the killer can be overpowered, and some things that I didn't even mention because I didn't want this video to be too long. Like I said, I think that the thing that you need to understand is that there can be points where the game will be more survivor-sided, and there can also be points that it will be more killer-sided. If I had recorded the match where I went up against this blight with a very rude manner, they were using the absolute strongest stuff, and while we were using memes, and we didn't even bring map offerings, nothing like that. So yeah, I think that people just straight up say whatever they want in a match, but that was not their case, and you need to look at every aspect before you judge. And you know, I think that's uh, just the way I see it. And if you want to take the easy route and just say, yeah, survivors always have it easy, well, then you're being very idiotic. Um, yeah, I think that's it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.